The other thing that Federico Martini did was design the DB1. The DB1 is very special because it was the first all-Italian bike that Bimota made.
All Italian because the DB1, like all current Bimotas, is powered by an engine built by Ducati. In 1990, Pierluigi Marconi became the third head engineer at Bimota and the man who took the biggest risk yet. He created a radical design that eliminated the traditional forks and front end on a motorcycle and connects the front wheel with a very different structure. The idea is to keep the weight of the bike off the front wheel. The bike is called the Tesi.
The reason they call it the Tesi is because when Pierluigi Marconi had done his thesis on alternate front suspensions for his PhD at the University of Bologna, the word Tesi in Italian means thesis.
Other companies have tried experimenting with unusual front suspensions for bikes, but Bimota is the only one that actually builds that kind of motorcycle.
Back in the early 90s, I raced a Bimota at Daytona. The Bimota group came over, they brought a Tesi for me, and here I was thinking, oh, I'm going to ride this crazy work of art that is a lot of theories and doesn't going to go very well. And man, right away from the first practice, we were pretty quick on it and ran right up in the front with it.
The Tesi, like all Bimotas, has an Italian sensibility that blends performance with passion. A passion that sometimes is difficult to put into words.
When I think of Bimota, I get pictures in my head. I don't get words. You know, words don't sort of, it's not a verbal kind of thing. It's kind of a, visual passion.
Visual, visceral, and emotional. But then what would you expect from one of the most rare and exclusive motorcycles in the world? Bimota's new motorcycle line started with a bike called the DB5. It is classically Bimota, Italian, exotic, and different.
The DB5 represents sort of that return to all the positives that Italy brings to that kind of handmade exotic motorcycle. What Bimota does with it is they're so focused on lightness, and they're so focused on an exciting chassis geometry and good handling and beautiful, beautiful parts. DB5, it's an emotional riding experience.
An emotional experience tied to the exclusivity of the brand.
It's not like a piece of transportation. It's not like a mechanical object. If you appreciate art, then you can appreciate this.
Very few people have ever had the opportunity to actually ride a Bimota.
If you could afford one of these things, this is unquestionably the finest performing motorcycle you can buy at any price in the world. It was the, Ferrari, Lamborghini of the motorcycle world.
There's one more bike in Bimota's lineup. It's called the Delirio. It has the soul of the DB5 sport bike, but its ride position is less severe.
The Delirio is basically, it delivers what the DB5 delivers in a sort of comfortable riding position, but you've got that position of power that you get from dirt bikes where you've got a little bit more, leverage and comfort, and, you kind of muscle it around a little bit more.
In a good year, Bimota makes 500 motorcycles. Each one is virtually hand-built, which is what makes Bimota both rare and expensive. The entry price into this motorcycle club is more than $30,000. This is the factory for Bimota motorcycles, one of the most rare and exclusive brands in the world.
It's not a factory like we bring in, people from the stock market and try to get them to invest in our company. This is just a building where, love of building motorcycles is everywhere.
It's more of an artisan's workshop than a motorcycle factory, and it's not easy to find. At Bimota, the focus is on their unique bikes, not on their building.
So you drive in this neighborhood and you're looking for the address the first time, and it's number 38, and you're on the right road, and you're driving around and you're looking for a factory, and there is no factory. And when you get here, you go past it and you go, oh, I passed it, and then you have to turn around and come back, and then you see literally a logo on the front of the building that's no bigger than 1.5 feet in diameter, and it says B.
The factory is really a classic Italian workshop for artists who just happen to be making motorcycles. Everything is done by hand, and the goal is something between obsession and perfection. Like spending hours with a hand-operated lathe to mill the perfect oil filler cap out of billet aluminum, engraved with a simple B for Bimota.
The passion at Bimota has been the thing that they've sustained through different owners.
I think motorcycles in general have a lot of passion, and in these particular ones, you just see it coming through with the quality and the attention to detail that people have on these things. You see it coming through in the bright red frame. You see it coming through in the polished aluminum pieces, and there's nothing on that bike that is just a part for doing some function. I mean, every piece on that bike is the best it can be.
There is no assembly line at Bimota. It's a workshop where at most they can build 4 or 5 bikes in one day. And each motorcycle is hand-built, from start to finish.
The way they build motorcycles at Bimota is almost the way an artist would build a piece of sculpture or a painter would do a painting.
With tools and parts neatly lined up, the build begins by slowly and carefully adding the front section of the frame to the engine. There's no sense of urgency. Watching the rear frame and suspension go on, it's clear that it takes as long as it takes to build a Bimota. At least one full day just for final assembly. The front triple clamp, forks, and wheel come next. All the custom-made pieces are beginning to take the form of a motorcycle.
This guy feels a certain sense of pride. He gets to feel all the beautifully machined, handmade parts that go on this thing. And if you notice, like, they take the time to put a little fingerful of grease on some of the parts, and they loosely put things together, and then they've got the torque wrench, and everything is hand torqued to the right specification. He must have stopped 5 or 6 times in the process and took out a clean rag and wiped his fingerprints off of the frame, because this is what he does. He doesn't want to even look at fingerprints on this beautiful piece of artwork that he's building, this sculptor that he's sculpting. He wants to make sure that every time he turns around to put something back on this thing, it's as beautiful as it can be, and that really kind of shows you the way these people feel about the job they're doing.
Even final testing is hands-on. There's no computer checking the data. The man who built the bike fires it up. And then he'll take it out for a test ride. It's the old-fashioned way of building and testing a brand new bike.
There's a certain passion in the guy downstairs that fires it up for the first time and rides it around the block. And these guys really are motorcycle people. They're not just assembly workers that are going to a job in the morning.